Hello, and welcome to another episode of For the Love of Sports. My name is Michael Rasile. This is a show where we get to talk about sports, we get to talk about business, we get to talk about everything in between, wherever you're listening, however you're listening, you know exactly what to do. YouTube, you're going to like, you're going to subscribe. Spotify, we get a 5-star review. Got that video. Spotify, not that bad, not that bad. And on Apple, of course, subscribe, unsubscribe, resubscribe. 5-star review there as well. We appreciate all of it. More importantly, today, my incredible guest, I have Tyler Gallagher. He's the CEO of Team 33. Tyler, how's it going, man?
It's going great, man.
Going great. I hope it's going to be better. We're going to be here for another 30 minutes, I'd say, maybe a little longer. We're going to have a great conversation. Everyone listening is going to have their minds blown by the CEO of an esports team, man. We're going to have an absolute blast. But the first question, Tyler, I have for everybody that has been on, I think you're the 306th, 307th episode of For the Love of Sports is, Tyler, why do you love sports so much?
That's, I'll tell you, esports, I have just a fondness for it. And the reason is when I was 19 years old, I had a panic attack. I did not know what it was at that time. It was very scary. You don't read about it in school. They don't tell you about it on the television. It was just frightening when it happened. And I remember waiting for my diagnosis. I went to my doctor. I went, did everything that I could do in my power. But while I was waiting for my results, the panic attacks were just coming on stronger and stronger because I was inducing them, essentially, because I was panicked, like I was freaked out. It was to a point where I was fully clothed. And I would tell my roommate, hey, I'm going to be going to bed, but I'm fully clothed, shoes and all. And I'm like, can you just check on me every few hours? And if something's wrong, just call the ambulance. So what I did discover is that I could not leave my house. I was so frightened. It turned into something very scary. And what helped me through my panic attacks that were coming on was gaming. I was actually playing Tony Hawk on the PlayStation at that time.
And the second one. I'm sorry.
The second one. But I also played the first. But this was advanced enough to be able to play the second. And so I was just I realized like just playing the game it would slow down. So finally I got my diagnosis from my doctor, and he's like, Tyler, you have a panic disorder. It's pretty normal. People have it. And I'm like, can I die from it? And he's like, no one's ever died from a panic attack. I'm like, okay, all right. And then he gave me Paxil at the time. And I remember taking Paxil all excited. This was going to like go away. And what happened was it just made me like a zombie. And I was more tired than I'd ever been in my life. So I remember I had to go back and talk to my doctor, check up on me, see how things are going. And I just asked him again, I'm like, so this is like all in my head, right? He's like, yeah, this is just, it happens. Like it's all in your head. It will go by, and this will help you get by. And I'm like, if I stop taking this, are there any issues there? And of course it's a doctor. Yeah, you gotta get onto it. And I'm like, okay. And I cold turkeyed right from there. And what I did is I picked up one of the little Nintendo. It wasn't a DS, it was before that. It was a little tiny square. SP. There we go, the SP. Yeah. How did that escape me? And I just used to play it all the time. It was like my wallet. If I was on the bus, panic attack, playing the game. Didn't matter where I was, I'd play a game. I'd go to the bathroom, play a game. It did not matter. I was whipping that out, handling my panic attack. So with that, I fell absolutely in love with gaming. It became like my best buddy. Helped me get through a lot of things. Bad day, gaming, And so as I progressed in my gaming world, I got hooked on a game called Warcraft 3. And Warcraft 3 is a phenomenal game if no one's ever played it. It's where all the greats come from. A lot of people don't know Dota came from the creative mode that they modded up in Warcraft 3. But I remember at the time you could watch replays of pros. And there were these guys. They were just murdering Warcraft 3. It was called the esports team is called 4K, and Grubby and Fob and Todd and Moon. I mean, these guys were just annihilating Warcraft 3, and it was like a dream for kids to be in like 4K. But SK Gaming, all these esports teams were emerging. This was the first I'd ever seen of it, and it just was like it gave you something to strive for, even though you knew you weren't going to be on 4K. I used to watch Fav, all his replays, because I played Undead, and I would just watch Fav's replays, learn, like, you know, how to rush people with the skeletons and the ghoul rush, and, you know, learn little tactics, see how, like, actual tournaments are played. And that's really when I fell in love with esports. I actually thought I was going to be a professional gamer until I understood how good everybody is. You can't just watch a pro copy his strategy. That pro actually comes up with their own strategies, and they're geniuses. So that's the long-windedness of my journey into gaming.
No, and I appreciate that story, man. And it's, I mean, I've never gotten that answer before, right? And how gaming has, I mean, you know, helped through panic attacks. But it's very, not mind-numbing, but it's very easy, and it's very, you can be comfortable, right? And sometimes you need exactly that, right? On the SP, you kind of just play a little Final Fantasy Tactics, maybe a little Pokemon Fire Red. Those were my two games back in the day, and like, you knew what you were doing. And right, Pokemon, I play it. Like,
Harvest Moon was pretty calming.
Okay, that was
making
very
your
yes. If you
making your farm.
Yes. That
very much enjoyed that. I was addicted.
Right, 100%. It was always so funny, right? Like, I live, my parents live on like a hay farm, and next door to us is like a bunch of animals, and it was always funny. My mom's like, "Why are you inside playing this game? Like, you could just go pet the animals." I was like, "Mom, it's not the same. Like, it's totally different." But it's just funny, and yes, that particular game is very calming. But it's really interesting to see how you were able to utilize something like that at a time in your life, as you said, at 19, like where you're really struggling with something, but you were able to kind of not medicate yourself in a way, right? I'm not a doctor, but everything I've ever heard about those drugs sounds awful, and it sounds like it might be worse than the actual diagnosed illness. Obviously, I'm not one to say, because I don't have anything like that, thankfully and gratefully. But it always just is like, when I hear what some people, like, you can see it in like a friend or a family member or someone, and you're just like, man, like, are you okay? They're like, yeah. It's like, oh, you don't sound okay. And it's interesting. And like, how long did it take you, I guess, to get over? Maybe never get over them, but like, how long did it take you to kind of?
Yeah. It's crazy. So it was pretty quickly. So the best way to explain it, because there's something interesting when you conquer something, like, let's say you have a broken egg or whatever. Once it's solved or it's fixed, you forgot you even had it. Mm-hmm. So the best vivid imagination that I have is of what the experience was like. For 6 months, I felt like I was in a dream. Like, I didn't feel what was around me was real. I did a lot of research and stuff. It's also known as disassociation. So I felt like the best way to explain it is like, before this happened, my panic attack at 19 that just took me out of my body, I could be in a multi-million-dollar house, and I call it smell the flowers of life. Like, I could be like, wow, this is a beautiful home, and feel that, like, presence and that energy, and, like, you know, but for this 6 months, I could be in the nicest place, I could be with the coolest person, and I don't feel a thing. Like, I don't feel those regular feelings of connecting to life that I did before my panic attack. So that's kind of what it was. I was in a dreamlike state for 6 months. It was wild.
That sounds both terrible, terrifying, interesting, all at the same time. But thankfully, you've been able to kind of get out of it. And you know, again, shout out to video games, man. Like, how, like, right? You know, your parents probably always yelled at you when you were a kid. I know mine did. You play too many video games, go outside, go touch grass, you know, all that kind of stuff. But obviously, it helped you in an immense way, which I think is just absolutely fantastic. And right, like, I'm sure, you know, I don't want to downgrade your story, but I'm sure you're not the first person, right? I'm sure.
I'm not.
Have, you know, and I'm sure you've met some of them, right? And you know people that have utilized this tactic to make themselves feel better in some way, shape, or form, right? If we make it that broad, that's even easier.
Well, it gets even deeper than that. I mean, you're talking, there's people that have social problems at school, or they don't have friends, or they're homeschooled, or there's people that get bullied. There's people that don't think they're good enough. I mean, this is an outlet that's been used since, like, Atari has come out, for those that have those things that they're facing, that a place to go and be accepted. Whether they're beating a game, whether they're playing their friends and beating a game, or whether they're learning how to, like, figure out the puzzles in the game. Like, Zelda 2 was unbelievable, and you had to figure out all the secrets in the journey on how to, like, finish the game. Like, it just was there hard times for me too, not just panic attacks, but if I'm having a bad day, I pull out my favorite game and I'm in the greatest mood. I'm having a great day, oh my God, go play my favorite game and it's like the greatest day of my life. Like it just goes in, and I'm not just talking me, I'm talking so many. And I mean, you come into today's day and age, we're talking money's being raised for charities like we've never seen before with gaming. You're seeing young kids, you know, in the Fortnite scene. Everyone knows the story of Booga. You know, he wins World Cup, $3 million. I mean, these are big moments. These are big moments brought to you by gaming. I mean, gaming has changed lives. Gaming has changed how we look at the world. Gaming has changed how we approach the world. Gaming is just a phenomenal, it's just a great outlet that doesn't have, I personally feel, and I'm probably biased, but it doesn't have side effects that drugs would have or something would have, prescription drugs or real drugs. Like there's just no, it keeps your mind sharp. It keeps you entertained, and if you want to pass some time, you can pass some time. It's like a luxury in a sense.
I would agree with almost every single thing you said there. There are a couple negatives occasionally, right? Have you ever been in a Modern Warfare 2 lobby? I'm just going to leave it at that for anyone out there who's played Modern Warfare or Modern Warfare 2.
Fortnite too, believe me, Fortnite as well.
I have not played, don't plan on playing it anytime soon, unfortunately. But yeah, that was my heyday, and yeah, there were some very mean people. Let's just leave it at that. But no, I agree, man. I think it helps more than it hurts, and I think that's a very easy way to say I completely agree with you. There's way more positives. There's way more opportunity, male and female, right? Like that's one of the cool things too. Like it doesn't really matter your gender or anything. Like if you're good, you're good, and that's all people care about, which I always think is really cool too. And I'm really interested though, like how. Like, there's a lot of people that play video games, and there's a lot of people that use video games as outlets, and there's a lot of people that, you know, are constantly gaming and trying and practicing and doing everything they can. As you said, your plans or your hope, your wants were to be a professional gamer. At what point does that, unfortunately, come to an end? When do you come to terms with that, and when do you realize that there's this whole other aspect of gaming, which is the business side, where you can venture out into and potentially affect the gaming world significantly more than you could have if you were, you know, one of the professionals?
So you're speaking very to my heart. So you can't help but be in gaming and see the evolution of it. If you're a true gamer, you're truly in love with gaming, you can't help but see the evolution of it. Twitch was my TV for the longest time, and it was just so exciting to finally see these pros, live with camera. Like this stuff hasn't happened, like just breaking these new boundaries. And you want to be a part of it, whether you're streaming yourself or whether you're assembling streamers. You want to be a pro gamer yourself or you're assembling pro gamers. Like you can't help, if you're a real fan of the gaming industry and have been a gamer your whole life. I got like pulled into World of Warcraft. Still a huge fan of World of Warcraft, still play it to this day. You can't help but see the evolution of esports in general and what it's done and the wonderful things it's done. You see the story of Ninja from Fortnite, obviously. You see the story of Tfue, but so many others, Summit G. I mean, the list doesn't end on what the gaming world has evolved into. And then you can't help but also see how widely accepted it's becoming. Like it's becoming massive. Along my journey, I had the great fortune, I believe it was 2016, I saw Faker playing at League of Legends in the Staples Center. And that thing was sold out. And I never felt an energy like I felt before. And like you'd go to watch your favorite basketball team, on one side is like Faker and his crew, and on the other side his opponent. And it was like, I was just like, wow. And as everyone knows, Dota is where League of Legends came from. Well, the Dota people in Blizzard were all fighting in court, and Dota 2 is finally released.
They do that
but
a lot, huh? Blizzard, I feel like they're always in lawsuits now.
I will tell you this, though. Because you can't be big and not have people taking shots at you. I'm going to say this, and maybe it's because I'm a Blizzard fan. They're absolute geniuses in what they've created. You can never take Warcraft 3 away from them and the genius of Warcraft 3. You just can't. And what has come from Warcraft 3, what I would say is it's an absolute shame that Blizzard wasn't able to see what was coming from these beautiful things they were creating, because they could have been League of Legends. They could have been so many massive games. I'm not like I'm crying for them or playing, the world's smallest violin. I'm just saying that they're absolute geniuses. And if you have a real respect for esports, you'll have a real respect for Blizzard. Like, real respect. Absolutely. What they've done with the World of Warcraft, and they're like creating an economy, or people making money in the game. You can actually sell real gold in real life that you make in World of Warcraft in real life. Creating economies, teaching you how to use an auction house where you can use that in actual real life, like that, the economics. Like, Blizzard is an absolute genius when it comes to gaming. You look at Hearthstone. I mean, these guys just are absolute geniuses, and of course they're going to get shots taken at them. But I'm happy about their recent acquisition from Microsoft, and I'm just floored to see what happens now that they got like nothing stopping them. Before, nothing was stopping them, but now. But no one should ever forget that Dota 2, League of Legends, all because of Warcraft. Warcraft 3.
And I didn't
mean
to cut you off there. I didn't mean to cut you off there, but that was always interesting. I see a lot of articles. But no, and I apologize. Go back to you're in the Staples Center watching Faker and his crew, and you just have. I mean, I've never been to an event. I've always wanted to go.
It's unbelievable.
The pandemic kind of shut a lot of that stuff down, but hopefully it's coming back with force soon.
The thing that's so different from watching a basketball team, which I was very intimate with, watching the Clippers, Lakers, great games. There's nothing like esports. You can't even explain it. There's no rivalries. There's no one fighting each other afterwards. There's none of that. There's sheer love for both sides, and it emanates. It's like when the other side's winning, the other side's just as happy. It's a really unbelievable community. Both sides. You're not seeing fights. You're seeing them nerd out and commenting on each other's costumes, and it's just unbelievably it's amazing. It's a very evolved sport, believe it or not. And the genius behind being great at a game is it's unbelievable.
That goes way above my head. Yeah, I've never been very good at video games outside of the ones that, like Pokemon, right? Like, that's easy to be good at, though, right? So I'm curious, from your perspective, why do you think that is? What is it about esports? What is it about gaming that leads to this type of loving community on both sides, right? I come from a NFL, MLB, traditional sport, let's call it, background, where rivalries are rivalries. Like, I hate Philadelphia, every aspect of it, because I hate the Eagles that much, and I will say that to the end of my days. But it doesn't sound like that's the same here.
Well, to say that there's no rivalries, I'm sure there is, but they're not angry rivalries. There's not, it's not like what you would see in the fans of sports. But there's a passion. And what I feel the passion is there, and why there's such a respect, is because gaming is a skill. And whatever side it's being used on, you got to admire that skill and that technique that they're using. Whether they're, quick with their macros and quick with their buttons and quick with their builds, and, but you got to admire the strategy and how they approach a game. From each side. And I'll tell you, I've been fans of 4K, and I'm watching SK, and I'm like, holy, I hope SK wins this, even though I love 4K. We're talking Warcraft 3 days, and you just can't help but just be immersed, and just be like, wow, I gotta try that tactic, or that was really smart. And I don't know, it's I see it in sports for sure, but this is just my opinion. So I'm one man with opinion here, so I could be very wrong.
No, far from it, and this is your show, man. That's why I just get to ask you a bunch of questions. I'm very grateful for it, and I can clearly tell you're very passionate. And one of my favorite things is talking to passionate people about the subjects that they're most passionate about. So it's very clear that you're coming from a place of love and a place of passion, and that's all I'm looking for on the show, man. I'm here to have a good time. I want to give you a little publicity. That's the easiest thing I can do. That's not a problem. So I am, I want to kind of go back to, I know I ask questions. I ask 2 or 3 questions at a time because I'm so excited to hear all the answers. And obviously you can't answer all the questions because I asked you too many. So it makes life a little difficult. But where was it for you when you realized again, hey, okay, I'm not going to be able to be an esports professional in some capacity, but I can affect the game at the absolute highest level. So again, you're the CEO of Team 33, which is an esports team. You guys have content creators. You got a sweet ass house. You have obviously, teams of Fortnite in multiple different locations doing a couple different things. Where did the idea for you and where is the skill set for you coming from to say, yeah, I think I can run an esports organization. I can run a powerhouse in the esports world.
Yeah, for sure. So in the as they would say in IRL, I've been very fortunate in how I've done success wise. So I reached kind of a level of success for myself where I was able to pursue things that I'm truly passionate about. Where I became successful, as you said, in investments. Precious metals industry, which evolved into crypto industry as well. I was always passionate about that, and I didn't feel like I was going to find something that I could be more passionate about until gaming. When I got to a place with my business where it's running itself, I didn't have to be present every day like I had to in the very beginning 10 years ago, and I was starting to have that free time. I found myself always online. I was, again, Hearthstone. That was 2019 for me. I had to be playing that about 12 hours a day. I don't even know how I played so long, but I loved it. I loved every second. As embarrassing as it is to say that I spent 2019 playing Hearthstone, it's a real reality. But it brought so much joy to me, and it helped me figure out things through my journey. But it didn't stop with Hearthstone. Then I found Grand Theft Auto RP. And if anyone knows Grand Theft Auto, I mean, they shook gaming as we know it. Rockstar delivered a game that no one's ever seen. We thought Mario 64 was pretty impressive, which it was. There's just no question. That was another game changer. But when Grand Theft Auto took a 2D racy game and they brought it to the 3D world like no one's ever seen, created this open concept world, it was like there was no question. Seeing Soda Pop and all these streamers of mine, it just everybody and this thing evolving. I'm like, I got to be in this. And what was the trigger? The trigger was this just one day knowing that I could do it, looking and seeing around me that one, I know gaming, one, I understand it, and I have a true passion for it. And I just pulled the trigger one day. One day I just was like, I'm ready. Let's do this. And I pulled the trigger. And went through the typical steps of starting an LLC, and I mean, there's things that lead to the path that got me there, but I don't ever want to mention names, but I'll try to keep it as generic as possible. I've done very, very well in the music industry, renting out studio space in nice houses. That's the one that you're talking about, where you see all these celebrities. Running one of the most successful LA studios in recent times, music studios, and I noticed that all these guys were gaming, like all these massive artists were always gaming. Like it was just crazy, and I'll never forget Ty Dolla $ign, really, really awesome guy. And I asked him if he plays Fortnite, and he's like, yeah, my daughter does, and I do, and we got to play with them one night, like a crew. And I just fell in love. I was like, this is what I want to do. I'm pulling the trigger. That's it. And so I pulled it. It was November of 2020. I got the LLC together, got a website going, got a logo going. I'm like, I'm just gonna do this, and that's what I did. The Team 33 was born.
That is an awesome story, and I'm very excited to ask you a bunch of follow-up questions. But the one thing I want to say to that is, it was Ninja playing with Drake and someone else, right? Like that's when
yep.
I remember the internet just absolutely blowing up. And
yep.
saying, like, were you on Ninja's stream last night when he was playing with Drake? And I can't remember. I apologize. I can't remember who the other person was, but it was. I remember that being as like an inflection point. Again, me coming from the outside the industry, right? You've kind of been a little bit deeper into it, but me just being Joe Public here, I remember that occurrence, and I remember when that happened and how monumental it was at the time. It is really interesting to see, though, how you've been able to kind of, create that on your own a little bit and be able to kind of see that and feel that and do that on your own outside of, a gigantic moment like that.
Yeah, and that's also like that's why I love gaming so much, is that it allows for that big of a moment for the gaming industry, for the nerds. Like that like Ninja's story is just an absolute incredible story, and it shows it is just touching on what is possible in the gaming world. One of the greatest stories about Ninja that I love is you see him on Ellen DeGeneres, which if you're on Ellen DeGeneres, you're doing something. You're somebody.
You definitely went viral.
You went viral. And so Ellen, he just, told her, hey, look, I'm going to raise money for your favorite charity. How much and what is it? And it was like $50,000 she wanted for her favorite charity. Kid did it in 30 minutes. I mean, that to me is the world that I want to live in. That to me is the beautiful world that is coming to existence, where kids, doesn't matter, their age doesn't matter, they can go and have the power to raise $50,000 in 30 minutes for a charity. That's real. That's something I want to get behind, and I'm so passionate, and I won't stop till I get to be a big part of that. I can't wait till I get to be like, yeah, and I found this young guy, and now he's a star, and this guy just raised millions of dollars for this incredible cause. Like, that's the world that excites me, because when you get to a point as a businessman like myself, you have all these wonderful things in your life. You really, truly, at your core, you look at all this success, we want to give back. We want to figure out how do we use what we've been so blessed by in life to multiply it and give back. And that's where my passion comes, is because I don't feel like there's a better place for me to spend my energy, my time, and my efforts, where I will get a lot back in the sense of being able to affect lives positively than the esports world.
That's incredible, man. I absolutely love that answer, and I think it's important for people to understand, right? There's a massive potential, and it's only growing, it's only getting bigger, and more things will continue to happen. And it's cool that you've hitched your wagon to that, and not only hitched your wagon to it, right, you've attached the boosters onto it, right, and you're pressing the pedal as far down as you possibly can go, because you have that opportunity. As you said, you're very, very fortunate. You worked extremely hard, it sounds like, with your past business, which sounds like, I'm sure, is still your current business as well. It's just this is where you're kind of paying attention a little bit more, putting a little bit more time and effort, because the passion is there. It's very clear that the passion is there, which I think is really interesting and very important. And so with that, like, how you said you started an LLC, right? Okay. Then what happened? Like, what do you do after that? How do you just kind of like, hey, I'm starting a team, guys. Like, who wants to be on my team? Like how exactly I've never heard like the startup story of an esports team like this.
Of course. So the way that I am in life, and I'm really grateful that I have the experience under my belt of starting a company from scratch. My company, Regal Assets, I started with $5,000. I'm actually a high school dropout, so I very low education, and just a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication. I turned 5,000 into over $1 billion in successful sales transactions and offices all over the world. With that, I know what it's like to build, and you just got to take the first step, and you got to jump in. Don't care what it is, just when you land in the water and you start trying to figure out how to swim, the first part is breathe. You can breathe, and you're fine, and you understand you're not going to drown, and then you start taking it on, and you really have to humble yourself. You really have to humble yourself, and you have to learn. You got to take hits. You got to make mistakes, and it's not easy. It was a lot of grinding, and thank goodness that I was blessed with being able to grind and being able to put in that time, because I came in prepared. But to answer your question, it's just taking that first step. And you don't have to be wealthy. You don't have to be successful. You just have to have the passion. And what I tell everyone is you have to be in it for the love of the game, because this is truly driven by the love of the game. You're not going to get wealthy very quickly. It's not that type of a business. It's a business of passion, and it has great rewards with it that surpass money in my experience, but I would say you just got to take the first steps. Start a little crew with your friends, start recruiting. I got to step up mine a little bit. I got to throw tournaments, see talent out there, get to know talent, talk to people, do a lot of research. I like to wake up typically 5 a.m., still to this day, do research. Because of my business, we know how to reverse engineer companies, businesses, organizations, and I have an army out there. So we're able to see stats, count them, put them together, and it's really all math at the end of the day. And you just start to find out who you want to sign, who you want to bring onto the team, what you want to be. And I knew from day one coming into esports, I see a lot of people, lifestyle brands and all this. I want to be uniquely myself. And the only thing that I could relate to esports was B4K. I had to go and I had to be great at a game. I felt like if I'm going to build a real audience and I'm going to build a real sports team, esports team, and we're going to have to be good at a game. And I got to pick that game, I got to stick to that game, and I got to be a laser beam. Well, everyone's trying to come in and sprinkler system and try their hand in every game. I'm like, no, Fortnite. Reason? It's blown my mind as a gamer, just seeing what it's done. Like you just said, I mean, you have Drake playing and causing like kids to all of a sudden be making $400,000 a month on Ellen DeGeneres. You got a kid 15 winning $3 million in a World Cup. You got the greatest concerts ever held online. No one knows this, or they do know this, or maybe they don't appreciate it. But Travis Scott, I mean, that was one heck of a concert. You got Marshmello. You've got Star Wars. Like they're literally breaking everything you've ever thought about gaming, and they're the true sign of the evolution of gaming and what's to come. And so to me, it was worth rolling up my sleeves and taking those first steps.
And I think Fortnite especially is a cultural phenomenon, right? Like it was one of the first free-to-play games that you could pretty much just get anywhere and anybody could play it and made it
on
so
any
easy.
platform.
Yep. And they had the cross platform, which then that came after a little while, which made it very cool. But I think again, just kind of coming from the outsider's perspective, I remember being like, wait, so it's just a free game and anyone can play it, and okay, that's kind of cool. And then I saw all my friends playing it constantly, right? And it was really interesting. Again, I'm terrible at shooters, so unfortunately, I really never got into it. But it's just one of those things where you see all of these things start to align, and as you said, right, Thanos was in it, and now we have every Star Wars character, and I think there's more Star Wars characters that are going to be in it now with Obi-Wan that's out, and like it's anything that culturally can happen is going to essentially be connected to Fortnite in some way, shape, or form. Any of the absolute biggest opportunities in culture is being connected there, and I remember the Marshmello concert and being like, that's pretty cool. Like, all right, that's pretty interesting. And like now, as you said, like being able to start to bring in, music. Now you have, movies and TV shows and like anything like that. If that can flow through a game and get in front of that audience, and that audience can get in for free, I mean, just the barriers that can be broken down are just astronomical. And then, as you said, like the prize money, right? We're not messing around with $3 million if someone can win that. That is absolutely incredible. And I don't want to make sure I have it. You guys have 4 total FNCS championships. You have 2 in the same season for North and South America. Am I correct there? So like clearly you were able to recruit, and you were able to find these talented video game players, athletes, whatever you guys want to call them. I apologize, I don't know all the correct terminology, but like as you said, like you've been looking at it, you've been beating people with math, you've been going the extra mile, you've been doing literally everything that you need to do to get there, and you're still not there, but like it's got to be pretty sweet to as far as you've gotten, right?
Say that again. Sorry, my apologies.
It's pretty sweet to see how far you've gotten.
It's like, honestly, I've had great victories in my life. Like I really have had phenomenal victories that I'm extremely grateful for, and I still can't believe that something as small as winning a game, for like our team winning a game, seeing our players and their stories evolving. I was talking to my wife about it, like shaking, like having anxiety about something so simple, and it's just beautiful to see that, and I'm as nerdy as it comes, so that stuff's exciting.
That's awesome, man. I love it. I think it's absolutely incredible. I think it's well deserved, and it's pretty impressive. And so one thing I always like to do whenever I have people on from the gaming and the esports space. So there's, especially you as the CEO, I'm really interested in this, right? Because there's, everyone who knows FaZe Clan, right? I feel like FaZe Clan is kind of just one of those, like, again, if you don't know anything about esports or gaming, someone said FaZe Clan, it's like, oh, okay, cool, because Ben Simmons is in FaZe Clan, right? And, like, have all these athletes and superstars outside of just the actual content creators and the athletes themselves. As the CEO, what is that balancing act like where obviously you have to pay attention to the esports team, right? Because you guys are winning championships, you're kicking ass, you're doing everything you need to do there. You guys are, as you said, working with incredible celebrities, Ty Dolla $ign, as you said before. Also, like, I don't know exactly what the relationship is there, but there's some sort of relationship there that you have to pay attention to. And then there's the content creation aspect where these, they might not be the absolute highest, but they're incredible on camera and people want to watch them and they're streaming on Twitch constantly. Like, where and how do you kind of balance the 3 of those as the CEO of this esports team? Because I think that's very important and very necessary to the success of the business.
I'm glad you asked that, because that was actually a challenge that was one of my biggest challenges. I didn't understand the dynamics because, as you said, you're right. There's two. What really the core of a good esports team is you've got two levels. You've got professional comp players. Those are the ones that are winning you your tournaments, your championships. Then you've got your other side that is a massive. They're getting your name out there. They're becoming a part of your culture. They're your voice box, so to speak. They're the respected people out there. They're the ones with an audience that trusts them, that's been with them, that believes in them, that follows them. And so the element that is critical, I feel, in a great esports team is that competitive side, where you've got your team out there keeping the championships running and keeping those things going. That's super important. But just as important, when you start getting those championships and you start doing well as an esports team, you also want the other side of the table, which is getting your name out there, but correctly and organically, where that's when a content creator comes in. That's someone like a Ninja or a Tfue or Summit G, someone online, Soda Poppin', where they've got their following, and if their following sees that they're into your organization or they believe in your organization or they join your organization, that's massive, because now that's like having, a really big voice to let the world know about your team, about your team's name, about who you guys are, what you're representing. There to cheer you on with each championship, with each, honestly, an esports team is non-existent in a sense, especially in this day and age, if you don't have the audience. And the audience comes from these content creators who are true lovers of the game. I mean, if you want to talk about me being in this for the love of the game, you look at you yourself. Streamers are just incredible people. Those are, and so are YouTubers, but like streamers, I just have so much respect for, because they're blocking out every time in their day, every day, for consistency, to share their love for gaming, to build their audience, to reward their audience, to come up with things. And it's just absolutely beautiful seeing that evolution in esports. So to answer your question, there's two, I feel, and obviously there's your staff, there's your core people to make sure the team's okay. That's a given. But the core pillars of a great esports team is your professional players that are getting those championships, and then those great content creators that are representing you out there properly, getting the word out, especially when you get wins, especially when exciting things happen, announcements. You want that voice box, and that organic voice box, not a fabricated, you could go and pay to get this out, and no, like a genuine organic voice.
I think one thing about the esports fan and the content creator fan, right, is the authenticity comes, it's at the absolute highest. You were saying something before, and I was going to bring that up, but we kind of lost track of it. But the authenticity that comes with this space, I feel like it is like an absolute all-time high. You're not going to get that essentially anywhere else. And I don't know what it is, but it's absolutely incredible that comes through, and people can smell that from a mile away. If you have a shitty sponsor and everyone's like, I don't care about this, why are you doing this? If you have just, as you said, if you're not having that authentic voice box, it's going to come back and hit you. And I think it's just such an interesting aspect of this, and in your life, right, as that CEO, is there's two, maybe not completely different, but two very different sides of the business, and you kind of need them to grow up at the same time almost, because if one gets too big, well, that's cool, because nobody really knows that you guys are winning all these championships, so who the hell cares? Or the other side is, well, that's cool, but you guys aren't really doing anything on the professional side. You guys just create content. That's nice, but there's other side to it too. So having that balancing act of making sure that they're kind of growing up at the same time seems like it's very difficult, but it seems like you're doing a hell of a job at getting it done.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, ever since I was young, I like to study the greats. Like, I really do. Like, I always humble myself. I study my competition. If there's someone better than me, I humble myself. I see what they're doing, that I'm doing wrong, that they're doing right, and I learn. And truly coming into gaming, why it took me so long, is I wanted to look and see what makes an organization great. For me, it's winning championships, but for today's day and age, you have to respect that other place, and that's those gamers that are streaming constantly. Maybe they're not the greatest at the game, but they're entertaining and they're absolutely genuinely love gaming. And so to be able to bring those two together, that I believe is the future of any strong esports organization, and you see that with FaZe Clan. FaZe Clan, I believe, is the first one that really broke through that. You were talking about that earlier with celebrity. They broke through that, but what a lot of people don't take into account, and as they just see FaZe where they are today, and it's well deserved. FaZe is an incredible brand, an incredible organization. I could not take my hat off to them more. But what they did is they were great at games first. If you saw them and knew them, they were great at games. I mean, these guys are like 34 plus championships now under their belt. And once they did that, once kids started to see, wow, these guys are really good at games, then they're like, wow, we're really good at games. We've got to take it to the next level, and we got to let the world know we're good at games, and we got to do this. And they did it, and they did it right, and they showed the world what a real esports organization is. 4K showed what it's like to be a great competitive organization, but 4K, where are they today? You look at FaZe, they took the 4K element, but then they went, and guys, in this day and age, you got to have the social aspect. So I believe FaZe is changing the way that esports organizations are approaching the industry, and I believe we're going to see a heck of a lot more of these pillars holding up an esports organization, and I hope to be a guiding light in the Fortnite scene for that structure.
I think you guys are well on your way. And one other thing that I always like to think about when it comes to kind of that stuff is, right, like, it is so difficult. It's so easy to look at FaZe now, right? It's very easy to look at Team 33 now and be like, oh, look at you guys. Like, you did it. Like, obviously, no. We're very, very, everyone still has many goals, right? You still have many, many goals you're trying to accomplish. And also, everyone kind of thinks it was super easy, right? Oh, yeah, you guys did it. Like, oh, that couldn't have been that hard. You signed a couple people. You guys want to... But, like, the work and the effort and the energy, as you said, that it took... You're waking up at 5 every single day still. You still are running another business. Like, this is not easy. It's just you do it because you love it, and it's coming from a place of passion, and you're putting in that effort and that extra energy and that time because of that. And I think that's always something I just want people to realize, like, Tyler, you didn't like just start this a couple weeks ago and just popped off, right? Like, this has been a couple years in the making. You're coming up on 2 years in November, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So hopefully November 5th. That's my birthday, by the way. But it's just one of those things. Like, I think it's taken 18 months, let's call it, to this point, and there's still so much further to go. And if someone just came in at this and they're like, oh, that was easy, like, right, yeah, FaZe Clan signed a bunch of NBA stars, and that's why they got big. But no, clearly, they were incredible at what they did, and then they were able to take advantage of that. And I always want to make sure people realize, like, it's never an overnight success. That takes like 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, and if I may, this is going to give everyone such a respect, hopefully, and appreciation for esports teams. The best way that I can say it, and it's so relevant with the metaverse and that whole world unraveling, they say that in the metaverse, 30 minutes is 1 day in the real world. So 30 minutes in the metaverse, 1 day in the real world. Those are the equivalents, right?
What do you mean, though? Like,
so if you're 30 minutes in the metaverse, right, that's equivalent to a day in the real world. So a half hour is 1 day in the real world. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I spend 30 minutes, a day's already gone by here in the real world. Is what the analogy is. Does that make sense? So yes. If I'm in the metaverse 30 minutes, in that world, in the metaverse, a day has gone by, right? A day has not gone by in the real world.
Correct.
I articulated it wrong. 30 minutes has gone by in the real world, but a day's gone by in the metaverse.
Yes. There we go.
Right? So 1 hour in the metaverse or in the real world in the metaverse is 2 days. That make sense?
Yes. I think we got the math down. Yeah.
There you go. So now take that into account of, I take FaZe Clan, 10 years plus in the esports world. That's a lot of days. That's a lot. That's like, do the math. I haven't even done the math. I admitted to you I'm a high school dropout, so I'm probably not good at it. But if 30 minutes equals a day, Think about that, right? So these esports organizations that have been around 10 years, even 5 years, even 3 years, because in the esports world, you're not getting immediate financial assistance. You're not getting immediate financial results. It's a real marathon. So you gotta understand, like, it may seem like to us 2 years, right? But in the gaming world that moves so quickly and so fast, that's a long time.
Yeah, I did the math. So we went with, so there's 24 hours of the day, so that means there's 48 half-hour chunks in a day times 365. Then we times that by 10, which is 175,000 days. We divided that by 365 to see how many years that would be. About 480 years in a 10-year span.
That crazy?
It's something. I don't know what it is. It's definitely something though. But Tyler,
that's an analogy, is what that is.
No, exactly. Yes, it's a good analogy too to give perspective. But Tyler, this has been awesome, man. Sincerely appreciate your time. Sincerely appreciate you coming on, explaining a little bit about what you've done, what you're doing. I guess last question for me, man. Like, what's next for Team 33? Like, what are you guys working on? What are some of the things you're excited about for the future?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're actually right now there's a big event going on in Sweden. It's DreamHack. It's a $200,000 tournament, and of course 33 is going there to represent. We've got our East Coast, we've got our West Coast, we got South America. So a lot of players are on planes and staffs on planes going to DreamHack. But what's in the future is to continue to grow. To take what's going on right now and to go and continue with that momentum. Yes, I'm in a marathon, but there's times in a marathon where you sprint because you see that you're ahead. And this is a moment right now where we're sprinting and we're taking advantage of being, coming out on the 29th of May. We're coming out of 2 FNCS wins. That has never happened. We actually made Fortnite history where same season we won North America West and we won South America. Which was huge. So we're sprinting right now. We'll be back to jogging, but the future for us is to continue to grow. And I really want to stick to, like I said, my laser beam philosophy. We'll absolutely be looking at where we branch out from here. But right now, super heavy, strong focus with Fortnite, especially since LAN tournaments are coming back. We're very excited about that.
Kudos and congratulations, man. There's a lot more. If there's anything I can do to help, maybe just have you on the show again after you guys crush it in Sweden. Hey, man, you're more than welcome to come back. We can chat some more. I'm sure I could have another 45-minute conversation. That's easy for me, man. That's easy. I hope you had a lot of fun too, though. But sincerely, where can we find socials? Where can we find Twitch?
Yeah.
Give me everything.
So the voice of Team 33, just like all esports organizations, is Twitter. So it's @official Team 33. Tons of stuff there. You'll be able to see all our socials, our YouTube channel, all our players, all that good stuff. So definitely one simple place, go to our Twitter @officialteam33.
Love it. I'll make sure that is in the show notes for everyone listening on the podcast and everyone watching on YouTube. You can check it there. But Tyler, this has been incredible. One more time, Tyler Gallagher, CEO of Team 33. I appreciate you for your time. I appreciate everyone listening for their time. Time's the only thing we don't get more of, so thank you very much for giving me some of yours. But I hope everyone had a great time. I appreciate you, man. And that's about it. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.
Appreciate you. Thank you.